Did you know that readers are leaders? I am a firm believer of that, and I want to share with you one of the books that I have enjoyed tremendously in the last few months. This is a book written by a friend, and most of all, someone that I respect immensely. The name of the book is The Rest of the Man's Show, and it's a deeply personal and powerful memoir that chronicles Pastor Bill Lamoury's transformation from brokenness to redemption and ultimately to a life of purpose and leadership. And this book is going to help you have the practical wisdom and spiritual practices and mindset shifts so that you can heal, grow, and lead a life of significance. So check it out. You can grab it on Amazon or anywhere that books are sold. And I would love for you to support this incredible individual. Remember, The Rest of the Man's Show.
The Rest of the Man's Show offers inspiration and instruction to help you push forward. Releasing April 8th. Get your pre-order now so you can be inspired with one of the most fascinating stories of brokenness, redemption, and transformation.
Strength doesn't come from what you can do. It comes from overcoming the things that you once thought you couldn't. Welcome to Casa De Confidence, a podcast for you. You'll hear some incredible women
And some awesome, cool dudes
going confidently in the direction of their dreams and living in the purpose of their heart.
You're our host,
Julie DeLucca-Collins, and you are our sidekick. # handsome hot husband.
That again.
And the producer of the show.
That I am.
I am an author, speaker, coach, dreamer, and most of all,
We help people go in the direction of their dreams.
and support them on their purpose. So pull up a chair
Grab a drink.
and make yourself at home because our casa
Is your casa. Welcome back to Casa De Confidence. We've got our windows wide open, letting the breeze come in here, because in New England, spring has finally sprung.
along with the thunderstorms.
Along with the thunderstorms that scare the little dogs in the house. So how are you doing, Julie?
I am having a cookie. I'm
So-
sorry, people.
So what was the quote? Who you didn't attribute that quote in the beginning?
Because I read the quote and it doesn't have anybody attributing the quote.
Really? I'm eating cookies too.
I read the quote from mindfulmontanawellness.com.
Well, cool. At least you have a publication to attribute it to.
Yeah, so they can go look at that. It's on Survivor Quotes.
Hey, I got a funny story today.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So, during the War of 1812, townsfolk in Rockport, Massachusetts,
What?
a tiny fishing village, hurled rocks at British soldiers using their stockings as slings.
What does that got to do with anything?
I'm going to continue.
Oh, go ahead.
Now they're slinging trash bags and towels over the side mirrors of their cars to protect them from a destructive and determined pileated woodpecker.
And welcome to the nerdy part of the show,
I'm
everybody.
just saying, this is hilarious. Over the last few weeks, the bird has broken more than 24 mirrors
Oh, God.
in at least one vehicle's side window. But the residents are taking the violence in stride. Everybody's having a good laugh about it, said Ben Favaloro. Nobody wants harm to the bird. He's always welcome back. I'm reading this from the AP. And it's a little article. This isn't that far from us. So it starts off as Rockport residents have a history of fighting off invaders, but not this time.
Oh, my God. Okay, well,
Because I don't want to hurt the bird.
that's a lot of nerdy. for
Apparently,
one
you hang
episode.
things on the mirrors, it freaks him out or something. He doesn't go after your car.
Well, we had a woodpecker
Can you imagine
outside.
can you imagine a woodpecker can break a window of a car? Maybe you should keep a pet woodpecker just in case you lock your keys out of the car.
Hey, we were sitting outside with my mom, and there was a little Woody Woodpecker outside. And
Really?
there was a cartoon Woody Woodpecker. And I said to my mom, look, there's Woody Woodpecker. And mind you, again, she is not understanding a lot of things. So she's like, what is that? I'm like, and she says it in English. I'm like, like the cartoon we used to watch when I was little. She's like, I don't know. Which one? The Smurfs? I'm like, no, Woody Woodpecker. She's like, what is a Woody Woodpecker? So then I go, ha, 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 ha.
I think it's just adorable how you pronounce Woody Woodpecker.
How do you pronounce Woody Woodpecker?
You just said it right that time, but yeah.
Okay.
It's not right or wrong. Woody Woodpecker, you do, I don't know, I can't do it. You stretch out the middle of Woody Woodpecker.
Wow.
All right, I got to go back.
We
got to go back
again.
and listen to it. It's just fun listening to how you pronounce different things every once in a while.
Well,
Adorable.
I was trying to figure out how I could not. Oh, that's what it is. Hold on. I could not remember what it was in Spanish. And then finally had to go ask Google, and it is pájaro carpintero. It's a carpenter bird.
Pájaro carpintero.
Carpintero.
You got to let me try.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Pájaro carpintero.
Is pájaro with a P-A accent on the
with
A.
a P.
P.
Pájaro
Carpintero.
carpintero. I did okay, right?
You did okay.
All right. So, Julie.
Yes, Daniel.
What are you looking forward to this week in the podcast?
Well, our guest today is someone that I know in real life and someone that I admire immensely because she has been incredibly instrumental in helping me be better at email.
You're pretty good at email.
Well, I take a lot of what I know from her. Mm-hmm. And I met her through, of course, my other mentor, Pat Flynn. She was in the community. And although I had heard of her, and you know how like online you hear of people, then you look them up and you're like, oh my God, I need to sign up for her stuff. That's what happened to me. And for a year, I forgot who she was. Like I knew I wanted to sign up. And what I had done, okay, this is something that annoys you. I actually opened the browser on my phone, and I went to her website.
And then, that browser's been open for 10 months.
No, because I.
You said that's what it is.
Well, listen. So I was one of many browsers open on my phone, and of course I closed it and never came back to it, and I didn't sign up for her membership.
Yeah.
Until I guess a year and a half later from that time. And now I've been a part of her membership for, I guess, about a year and a half. Almost 2 years. No, maybe 2 years already. But I am a big fan of our next guest. Her name is Liz Wilcox. And if the name sounds familiar and maybe you are not an entrepreneur, it's because you might have seen her in season 46 of Survivor. But she is more than just a Survivor contestant, Daniel.
Season 46? Holy cow.
Well, you watched the thing with me, Dan.
I know, but I'm just thinking.
What are you thinking?
It's been around a long time. That makes me feel old that a series that I remember starting to watch when I was an adult is 46 seasons in.
Well, let me tell you something.
It was a great season. It was last year, right? Yeah.
I don't know when it was. No, it's more than that. But that was the first time ever I watched Survivor. And
we got to meet her at Podfest, right?
We met her at Podfest, not this past year, but the year before. I saw her both years.
Well, I said I wasn't there this year.
And again, I'm part of her membership, but she is the fresh princess of email marketing. And she is one of a kind. She started her journey as an RV travel blogger. And now she's a marketing expert when it comes to email. And she is definitely teaching many of us how to really go and move the bar when it comes to using the one thing in your business. And a lot of people really avoid using email.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to that interview. Hey, speaking about moving the bar.
Okay.
We went to a bar yesterday.
Yeah, it's been a long time since you and I have actually been out partying.
We haven't been out. We went and watched a Kentucky Derby at Shays in Vernon, Connecticut.
It's not called Shays anymore. It's Murphy's.
Well, it's Murphy's, yeah.
Our friend's brother owns this establishment, and it's one of the neighborhood places, and we have not been there in a while. But it is the place where we normally go every year to watch the Kentucky Derby.
Yep. They have
I did not wear a hat yesterday, though.
You did not wear a hat, you're right.
And it was a good thing I did not wear a hat because it stormed and we were out in the patio and thankfully we found cover.
The way Murphy's is it's actually, they got a huge outside area in the back and they filled it up. He got a huge, I don't know, it must have been 40, 50 foot screen to show it on. Plus they've got all kinds of other screens they show it on. It's like wall-to-wall TVs. You can watch the event. But then the storms rolled in. It got crowded inside quick. But you know what? A lot of fun. So
yeah, a lot of fun.
Times.
And by the way, it's been a really, really fun weekend. We also went to see a Jimmy Buffett cover band on Friday.
We did.
Changes in Latitudes. And it was at the small theater in Manchester, Connecticut called the Leader Theater or Cheney Hall. And the average age of everybody there was 80, so my mom was quite at home.
Well, you're guessing the average age of everyone there.
Dan, you told me at one point during the night, I think I'm the youngest person here.
Well, at one point, because we got there on time, I was the youngest person in the room. But that does because, you know, a certain generation gets there early, and then the youth came in later.
Well, there weren't a lot of people.
So we're right in the middle of the bell curve, apparently.
Now, when I look around the room, and of course I was around the room because some of us got up to dance, unlike the other people with my party, mom and you who stayed at the table. I walked around the room. Really, I think the youngest person might have not been you anymore, but
no,
certainly
it wasn't.
was someone in their 50s.
I saw some group of people like in their 20s over in the corner. Yeah. Yep. They were there with their parents or something.
Oh, okay.
Having a good time.
Well, yeah. So anyway, there's a couple of different things, and I'm probably going to talk about this on my email today, but I have to say, you know, if you know me, you know Jimmy Buffett has been someone that I have followed since I was in my teens, and I have been to multiple Jimmy Buffett concerts in my day, probably one or twice per year. And since he's passed, it's going to be 2 years now in September. But I have to say that I miss that. I miss the music and just and by the way, Jimmy Buffett is not the only kind of music I listen to. I love all kinds of music, but there's something special that
her boyfriend's Bon Jovi
and Pitbull, if you want to know the truth too.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to say to you, Dan, is that at the beginning of the show, for the first part of the show, we were sitting in the cabaret tables and nobody was like really even like moving along with the music, and I'm singing along and clapping and I'm moving, and it was just kind of weird because most of the Jimmy Buffett shows that I've been in, we're standing, we're clapping, we're dancing,
and you've usually have a couple of drinks in you at a Jimmy Buffett concert,
perhaps a couple margaritas, and then I realized that, you know, I didn't care that I was the only one singing along, and then all of a sudden the lead singer for Changes in Latitudes said, "Come on, people, what is wrong with you?
He says, okay, so this is the fun part, because you're at a place that usually does shows, right? That usually does
that's
theater. So in theater, there's a certain things you do, certain things you don't do, and so he made it clear at a certain point. All right. We've all had our fun sitting down. I invite anybody to get up, come up to the stage, and let's make this a proper show.
So let me just continue my little story, because this is a point to my story. I got up.
She shot up as fast as
I went to the stage right away to dance, and I didn't care that nobody else was there. And really, it took a while for maybe a few people to get up. But as I was dancing along and singing along and right on stage and jamming with the band, I realized that I am the kind of person who, number one, will always be a leader, not a follower, will follow her heart and do the thing. And number two,
you certainly inspired a bunch of those people to get up and go up.
But number two, Dan, is that not everybody is comfortable in their own skin, stepping out, especially in front of others, and following, maybe they want to get up and dance, but they didn't want to do it in a place where it's full of strangers. And I think that for so many of us, we spend so much time trying to fit in that we really kind of erase the true goodness and the spirit of uniqueness that we all have inside of us. And that's one of the reasons that I really love Liz. And one of the reasons why I absolutely adore the work that she does. And I'm inspired because she really is one of these people that dances at the beat of her own drum, is not afraid to hold emotion, but it's always doubling down in one thing only, and becoming successful with it. And it really doing that for herself and how she's teaching others to do that is really transforming our entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, this world needs a lot of people like that are unafraid of stepping out. I'm not always that person who's unafraid of stepping out. I mean, I'm mostly comfortable in my own skin, but I'm not always the person to like instigate or inspire or get people going like that. So it amazes me to see people who are outwardly, purposefully, and intentionally doing that on a daily basis.
Well, and again, I think that as entrepreneurs, we're going to be a little bit outside of the norm, and we have to be okay with creating our own path, advocating for ourselves, not only in our business, but also in our life. And so many times we don't do that. So many times we kind of go with the flow. And, if you're a go with the flow kind of person, I get it. Sometimes I need to be a go with the flow kind of person and just let go and not be, I want to be in control all the time kind of person.
But I hear about it later.
Really? But I also think that it is really important for us to step out of our comfort zone. One of the things that Liz said is that a lot of women message her and say that was hold on, let's back up. If you haven't watched Survivor 46, I urge you to go check it out. I'm sure you can binge and watch it. But there's one instance in there that Liz stood up for herself and she spoke up. And really, that was the first time that a lot of women saw someone stand up for herself and got angry and got her emotion out there. And so many of us just want to conform. So many of us want to just kind of go with the flow, and we squelch our emotions. And the message that we are telling ourselves is that my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings, my needs don't matter. So this is one of the reasons that I really, again, will continue to be a fan. I am a part of Liz's membership, and she has definitely taught me so much about what I know in email. But the main thing that she's taught me that I live by is that email is not about trying to bombard people with stuff and sell them, but it's about creating a really true, meaningful connection with others. So,
all right.
And that's all I've got for you today.
All you got. So I hope you have a great week. I hope you, Julie, have an amazing week. For the listener out there, you know what? Don't be afraid. Break out that comfort zone. Do something bold this week. And enjoy this interview with Liz Wilcox and Julie.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Casa De Confidence. And as always, I have brought to you superstars. And again, I bring people to the show who I want to listen from. So you are coming alongside me for this journey, my friend. I have been definitely following this person from the beginning of my online journey. And I have seen some incredible things that she does. I've hesitated. I finally pulled the trigger and joined her membership. Her support has been invaluable to what I do. But most of all, I love watching her thrive and teaches by example. She doesn't share anything that she doesn't do herself. And she also is part of Pat Flynn's membership, which I love Pat Flynn. And when he highlighted her on her show, it really reiterated that this is one of the experts in my corner. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to the Fresh Princess of email marketing. And if you are a Survivor fan, you may know her. This is Liz Wilcox. Welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, that was such a lovely intro. We could end it right there. I can go about my day feeling really good about myself and into the weekend. Hey,
Oh,
friends, I'm Liz
hello.
Wilcox, and I love
Yeah.
Julie.
Well, the feeling is mutual. And when I met you in person last year on PodFest, I was thrilled because I'm like, oh my God, I love her. And I had joined your membership. And like I said, you are the queen, if anything else, of email marketing. And I was so thrilled to actually see the person behind the voice, the type text that has been guiding me. But why did email marketing become that thing for you?
Honestly, the return on investment, right? I started as an RV travel blogger. If you've ever been to the woods, you can imagine what kind of internet that I had, right? AKA it was not good, right? So when I was working, I had to be really efficient. I couldn't waste time. I couldn't just, write my blogs, post on social, go live, spend time in Facebook groups. I really had to be very efficient. My internet alone was good enough reason, but I also was, a mom of a toddler at the time. And I just had to come up with really simple practices to grow my business. And, listening to awesome podcasts like this one, everyone and their mother told me, email marketing, you do social media, you run ads to grow your email list, and that's where you sell people. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do anything to grow the list and, sell via email, connect via email. And so that's what I did. The day that I started my blog was the day that I launched my email list. I started growing from the very beginning, right? Before I even told people, hey, here's my first blog post. I said, hey, I'm starting a blog. Here's the email list, follow along because I'm going to start traveling in my RV. And that really is how I got into email. I just recognized really quickly, if I'm serious about making this a business, then I have to be serious about where I spend my time. And if all the experts, Julie mentioned Pat Flynn, I think Marie Forleo was really big back then. Everybody had a webinar back then in
Everybody has a webinar.
2016, right? And everybody said email list. And everyone was collecting my email address. Suddenly my inbox was very full. I said, these guys know something I don't. So I'm going to follow suit. And that's exactly why I, kept on or started with and kept on with email marketing.
Yeah, well, I love hearing from you that you started to see the importance. And for me, similarly to you, I having had, this corporate career, moving on to being an entrepreneur, that was the first thing that I really knew I needed to kind of jump on board. And of course, having been, I'd taken B school with Marie, I'd followed Pat Flynn and Amy Porterfield. And yet there was, I didn't know, right? I didn't have a style. I tried, of course, all the email services and I thought, oh my God, they're saying to use this, but I hate it. It doesn't work with my brain. And It took me a while to kind of get into the flow. I knew that I needed to learn to be myself on email and communicate who I was, but that was something that I didn't really do right away. Do you think that that's one of the biggest hurdles that people encounter when they're jumping into email marketing?
Yeah, I love that Julie brought this up. I think it is the biggest hurdle, and I've never really thought about it that way. But yeah, the most frequently asked question I get is, "Well, how do I write like me?" Liz, uh, when I get an email from you, I can hear your voice. I know it's you, right? And even
Mhm.
Julie and I met at Podfest 2024. And, I'm sure she can attest, like, oh, yeah, that was the same person that was emailing me was the
Mhm.
lady that I met, in the expo hall, right?
Yeah.
But how do you get that? Honestly, it's practice, right?
Mhm.
It's the same as learning to walk and then you got to run and then you're jumping and all that. It just takes practice. You're probably not going, unless you're already a professional writer
Mhm.
and you've
Right.
written novels and, you've had your work critiqued for years. You probably don't know what your voice
Mhm.
sounds like. As silly as, you
Yeah.
talk all day, but that your writing voice, it does take a minute to
Mhm.
find your style, find your
Yeah.
cadence, find, do I like exclamation points or do I hate them? Right. um,
Yeah.
it's just going to take practice. But the great thing about your email list and using it to practice and to find your tone is you're probably not starting out with 1,000, 2,000, 10,000
Mhm.
people. You're just starting out with those early adopters, those people
Yeah.
that, are excited to hear from you for whatever
Mhm.
reason, and they don't care that you don't have a large following. And you get to practice on them, and they'll come and they'll go, and you'll keep growing until, one day you're like, yep, this email feels good to send. This is how I want to represent myself. Um, you know, publish, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. As I was listening to you, I was picturing my little journey, right? And I'm going into my fifth year in business. And I had my friends and family who joined the email list. And then I I knew I had to do an opt-in, and that was really hard, right? Like, what is my freebie? And I couldn't figure it out. And I created, and if you go to like the back page on my website, you'll probably still find them there. There's a whole bunch. I had everything like LinkedIn, self care, business, weight loss, because I still had not picked what I was doing because I had done so many different things. And
Mhm.
it took me a while to figure it out. But I remember again being really confused like, what? And again, I took courses, right? But what is this freebie? What is an opt in? What is this landing page? And I really, when I found you and your membership, I thought, holy camazel, like, why didn't I have Liz in my life 2 years ago? Because you make things incredibly easy, simple, and you give room for individuals to make it their own. And by the way, I did not find my own voice, even though I've been a writer for a long time. I never found my own voice, I would say, until the beginning of 2023. And mainly because I stopped wanting to, be the corporate Julie that had to kind of write emails in a corporate environment. I
Mhm.
stopped trying to be clever or funny. I mean, I'm clever and funny, but not like other people. And when I see my clients starting email marketing, and by the way, they resist it at first, I see that they're struggling with that. What are some ways in which people can sort of make it simple on themselves? And I'd love for you to, there's probably someone who is a brand new person to launching an entrepreneur journey. So, like me, tell us, what is all of this opt in, all these things that I just mentioned.
Yeah. So first I want to say if you're feeling resistance to email, that's totally normal. You are probably like Julie, come from a corporate background, and you are absolutely scarred and traumatized from the inbox, right? There's always that coworker that abuses the inbox, or, Joe, he always forgets that CC, we don't have to reply all, or it's that manager who is emailing you every 10 minutes trying to micromanage your time. And, there's a lot of actual stress around the inbox. So the first thing to make it simpler on yourself is just to remember that with email marketing and growing your business, it's so much different than how you use the inbox with your job.
Yeah.
Number one, people opt in, like Julie was kind of alluding to, people opt in to hear more from you. So Julie said, oh, I have these landing pages, I have these freebies for people. And so basically, it's, I don't know, if you come from a corporate background, maybe I could say the word ethical bribe, right?
Right.
You give me your email address and I'm going to give you, a downloadable guide on XYZ, right? So that's your opt-in, your lead magnet, your freebie. Those are all the same things. The landing page is just a page, like a web page, but a landing page doesn't have a menu. It doesn't have a footer. It's just, hey, do you want my guide on XYZ? Put your email address in here. So once you start building that list, now that we understand the terms and we understand why we have anxiety, when we start sending emails, the way to make it simple is, again, number one, remember these people opted in to hear from me. They wanted the guide. They want to hear more. They are actively interested in and searching for a solution when it comes to what I do. Right. So that should kind of like loosen you up.
Like,
okay,
oh,
Julie really said she wanted to hear more. I better, I better start talking more. Right.
Yeah.
And then a lot of email marketers might come on this podcast and say, well, tell stories. Stories connect. Y'all, we're trying to make this simple. Okay. Stories are hard to write. Again, I didn't start my business to be a creative writer. I started my business to make some money.
Yeah.
So it is true that you do need to connect with your audience, but you can do this really simply in what I call personal updates. So instead of trying to tell a story, just give a personal update, like 2 or 3 sentences about something you did since the last time you emailed. So we're humans. We want to connect with humans. And so, it's actually pretty easy to connect. So the personal update is like, oh, I took my dog for a walk. I recorded a podcast and my mic wasn't on the whole time and nobody told me I sounded like garbage. Raise your hand if you've done that. I've done that. It's just something that allows people to be relatable, right? Like I mentioned, oh, my podcast or my mic wasn't working. Julie started laughing. You might have started laughing. Why? Because it's relatable. So I don't have to tell a big, long story for you to start relating to me. So again, just start with a personal update and then just segue into whatever content you have to share. Do you have a new blog post, a podcast? Did you just see something on TikTok that you think would be valuable for your audience, right? And now I know I used a big word, segue, right? But here's how you segue if you're not a writer. Hit that caps lock button on your keyboard and type the word anyway, ... What I really wanted to talk about is my new podcast episode, this thing I saw on TikTok, this discount code that's only available for 24 hours, right? It can be so simple. People's inboxes, we mentioned, they're overloaded. They have inbox anxiety too. So don't try to get fancy and clever with it. Just get in, get to the point, and get out. People will love you for it.
I love everything that you said. And for me, in thinking about that anyway, I just heard you also talk about people, yes, resonate with stories, but the most important thing is, people want to know what you're up to. If they follow you, they don't necessarily need the book version. They really need the snippets because, by the way, our attention span is so much less than it has been in previous times. So I think that's the other piece that I really want to make sure that we highlight because people overcomplicated. Now, I will tell you, I love writing. And when I first started to really connect with my followers and really connect with my email list and build a relationship, not just a transactional thing, but more of an emotional connection, is when my mom fell. And I don't know if you've heard me talk about this, but my mom fell, broke her pelvis in 7 places. And I had to fly to Atlanta, and it was a touch and go situation. I put her into rehab, stayed with her. And of course, I had gotten used to sending a weekly email, and I just couldn't send the, oh, cheery, happy when all this personal stuff was going on. And
Right.
I remember exactly where I was, and I typed an email updating people. Hey, if you haven't heard from me, or if you don't know what's going on, this is a little bit of what I'm processing. And I'm still running a business, but I'm also working on having the freedom and flexibility to be here for my mom. And to this day, this is an email that, well, number one, I got so many responses saying, thank you for sharing. Second of all, I knew that it was a community. It wasn't just a bunch of people who I sent emails to. And that was a really big eye opener for me, in the sense that all of a sudden we were shifting. So where can people who maybe are not looking to build a community, but are looking to make money online, right? Where can they start in what, especially if they don't feel like, I want to put my personal stuff out there? Where can they start?
Yeah. So Julie just shared that story with us. And I think something to point out is she had been emailing for a while. She had this feeling that, these people are expecting this weekly newsletter from me, you know, now that I have a breath of, I have like a moment to breathe, maybe I will contact them. Right. And so if you are, you hear that story, oh, I could never share that, or what have you. It's the same as what I said maybe 5-10 minutes ago about, you're going to get there. Right now, we need to practice. And honestly, I'm a private person too. I have been dealing with some health struggles for the last couple of years. And, I'll share them in my community and my membership when I'm on a live call. I do a podcast like this, but I've never sat down and wrote an email. Hey, these are all the things that have been going on and why I'm allergic to 50 different foods and this and that. It's enough for me and my comfort level to just say, I've been going through some health issues. Right. And that's been enough for my audience, to hit reply, like Julie said, hers did, and say, hey, hope you're doing okay, Liz. Right. And that's the boundary that I have with my audience. And it's nothing, I don't have cancer. It's not, at the end of the day, like I'm just dealing with some real mold issues, but it's causing a plethora of issues. But in my style of writing, it doesn't really fit to write this soliloquy about all the things going on with me. And when you think about, I love that Julia said, oh, they're just trying to make money online. Really, I know that you're trying to help people. You're trying to serve people.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is, I could go on and on about my health issues. I would probably connect with certain people in that way. But at the end of the day, my job is to be consistent for my audience. That's how I'm going to make money. And that's how I'm going to get repeat customers, et cetera. And so I press on and I talk about the things I promised that I would talk about, right? I mentioned those personal updates. Hey, I'm not feeling so good today. Hey, my mold has me down, but you come here for email tips, here at ABCD, right? And so if you don't, you think, oh, I could never be as open as Miss Julie, whatever. Remember, you get to set your boundary and also come at it from a place of service. Do that personal update. Yeah, I'm not feeling good. Oh my gosh, I've been taking care of my mom. Things are really awry in the back, behind the scenes. But I know Julie also started to show back up and serve, right? Here's the podcast episode. Here's what I've got going on behind the scenes. Here's a tip for this, a tip for that, right? And so that's the same as what I'm doing and what I suggest that you do at home as well. Again, you're just practicing. And remember, it's, of course, we all want to make money. I always say, like, do you have a stomach? Like, that's why you need to sell. You have a stomach, right? It's kind of gets hungry.
Yeah.
I'm shameless about selling, but you also need to come from that place of service.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is in service to your audience, like Julie did, and said, hey, this is what's going on. This is why things haven't been normal.
Yeah.
That's in service to her clients and potential customers. And then, it's in service to keep going and, give them the information that they ask for.
I'm so glad that you simplify things in such a easy way to follow the conversation. And I think that this is one of the reasons why myself and so many people are really connected in your membership, really appreciate what you offer for individuals. And, we're going to talk a little bit more about your membership. The one thing that I know that, and I get this from my clients as well, right, is, well, how long should an email be? And how do I, go from, hey, thanks for downloading my thing to I'm going to now sell you? Like what is the in between, right? Because you don't necessarily have someone sell or buy from you immediately after knowing you. And I often talk about that. Attract people, engage them, nurturing, invite them to work with you, and then creating, like Pat Flynn says, super fans, right? But what is that process? How do those 5 steps, can they fit with an email? How do you do that?
Yeah. So I'll just share how I turn people into customers. And hopefully it will inspire you again to keep it simple, right? So the first thing I do when you join my email list, you do get a freebie, right? Oh, here's your welcome sequence. It's already written for you. Download it here. And instead of taking you to a thank you page after you hit submit, I take you to a tripwire, right? This is a low ticket offer, limited time. Hey, get it while it's hot type of sales page.
Yeah.
That way, right off the bat, if Julie joins my email list, Julie knows, oh, Liz offers, paid solutions, right? It's not just, oh, I got this thing off Pinterest and now I'm going to get free stuff forever. It's, oh, Liz is a business with real solutions for my real problems, right? So highly recommend creating some sort of low ticket offer or, putting a mega discount on something you already have and setting that up for when people join your email list so that they see it right off the bat. They sort of flips the switch in the back of their head from freebie to, oh, real solutions, right?
Yeah.
Then in your welcome sequence, I recommend just 4 emails, really simple, kind of get to know yas. But in those emails, share at least once, if not 2 or 3 times, what some of your paid offers are, whether you have a signature course and you're mentioning that in every email, or, like me, I have my membership. So, that's my tripwire is my membership. Then a couple days later, I say, hey, I'm going to offer you free and paid resources to get you going with email. And then I got a couple bullet points, and one of them being like my $9 a month membership, where I send you weekly templates so you never have to write from scratch again, right? And then the last email in the welcome sequence is just a straight sales email. I say, hey, I know we just met each other, but maybe you're actually looking for a solution. So here's my membership, right? And it kind of gives them who should buy, a couple of testimonials, and then I get out of there. From there, so again, we've got the tripwire. We have a welcome sequence that mentions our paid products so people are aware that we offer solutions. And then you're going to start writing a weekly newsletter. And when appropriate, put your product in the newsletter. It's not a, 80-20, 70-30 value add. Your paid product is your biggest value add. Right? Like Julie mentioned my membership and she said, oh, where was this 2 years ago? Right? The best way I can serve Julie, the best way I can serve you is if you're in my membership, right?
That's right.
So I am mentioning my membership or any other sale I have going on pretty much in every email. So that could work for you, or you might have a high ticket service where you do a lot of nurturing and you only mention it when it opens, every 3 months or so. So again, in short, like make sure they know right off the bat that you have an offer and then continuously remind them of that offer. That's how you turn, followers into customers with email marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you describe this so beautiful, because this is the piece, right? That how often and how long should an email sequence be? You told us 4 emails. That's pretty good. People don't understand, like you said, there's a switch that goes off when you're giving value right off the bat with your freebie, but then they understand that, hey, if this is not enough for you, there's an answer and I can be that answer for you. And that is giving value. And I think that when people think of sales, they immediately think, oh, slimy, but it's not. It's always about providing service. And this is the message that you, Pat Flynn, really continue to resonate with me. Now, newsletters, right? I've seen a lot of individuals shift from just a weekly email to what I would say it's a formal newsletter and a formal template. For someone that maybe has been consistent with email, what kind of things should they consider if they want to do more of a, I don't know if it's formal newsletter, right? The right word, but
or maybe like a traditional newsletter, like a church brochure when you walk in, the usher hands it to you.
That's right.
Yeah. So those are making a comeback. I would say 2024 was the year of the traditional newsletter. Julie's mentioned Pat Flynn a few times. Pat has switched over to this traditional newsletter.
That's right.
Let's get unstuck.
I love that, by the way. And I read that religiously.
Right. He's got, it takes a minute for you to read it, like Julie said.
Yeah.
If I sit down and I read Pat's newsletter, it's, it takes me a few minutes, right? He's even got like a dad joke at the bottom.
Oh, I know, right?
If you refer people, you get this extra bonus section and things like that. So if that's the way you want to go, I say go for it. Those have definitely made a return. But you have to be very thoughtful. What do your people want? Something like Pat's Unstuck newsletter works because Pat knows his people, right? He knows what is going to make them sit down and read, right? For the rest of us folks, we're still kind of winging it, right? Who's my audience? What do they want? What do they need? And that's why I recommend a shorter style, just kind of a weekly, we can say the word newsletter, but just like a check-in email. Hey, how are you doing? Give that personal update and then segue into the content. For me, that's the style that I do because it's easier. I don't have to sit down and curate. Someone like Pat Flynn, I say it with love. He's got a team, right?
Yeah, he does.
So he has, who knows if he's even writing that? I think he's probably writing the stories, but he's probably not coming up with the dad joke or,
and
or
he's
maybe
not putting it into, into kit.
He's not doing all
actually,
the formatting, things like that. Now, again, if that's your style, I say go for it because it definitely is working right now, but it's also okay. And Pat Flynn does this as well, to just send a one-off email. Hey, real quick, I got something from Pat the other day. Hey, we're going to open up these applications. Stay tuned. Here's a couple things about it. It wasn't in that newsletter.
Right.
It was a separate email. So as you get moving, if you're writing that traditional style newsletter where there's different sections, things like that, don't be afraid to also, when you have a quick thought or, you want to share something and it doesn't exactly fit in that newsletter, don't be afraid to just, hit send again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to pivot a little bit on the conversation because you've demonstrated to the audience and reiterated to those who know you already that you are a leading voice and expert in this field. But I wonder, when people see you, they see the Liz who is up front and center, very colorful, fun, knows her shit when you're talking email, right? But what do you feel is the reason that you've become successful, and what is the thing that people haven't seen about your success?
Consistency, y'all. It's not the smartest person that makes it to the top. It's the most consistent. I know we've kept talking about him, but Pat Flynn has been around for what, 15 years?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
I've been
and guess
listening to
what?
him since, I would say, 2010.
Right. And he's still hits publish on that podcast. He still, is doing Facebook. He's still on, in my inbox, right?
Yeah.
It's consistency, right? There might have been somebody way smarter than Pat, but maybe they gave up 10 years ago. Maybe they went back to their 9 to 5. And so, through the many iterations of the internet Liz Wilcox, right? I've been one thing, consistent.
Yeah.
Even when I was sick, even when I wanted to give up, I kept showing up. And that doesn't mean I worked 8 hours a day every day, but I was very consistent. Julie's mentioned my membership a few times. At the time of this recording, that membership turns 4 years old in just 9 days.
Yay! I'm so excited.
Thank you. I'm so excited too. But how is it possible that I have this $9 a month member? Because it's $9, and you would think nobody makes money off a $9 membership. Y'all, I've made over $1 million.
Yes, you have.
With that membership in 4 years. Why? How? What's the secret that nobody's really seeing or connecting? It's consistency. I've shown up every day, even if it was just inside my head, to grow that membership, right? Because especially in the first few years, it's a lot of mental gymnastics of, I'm going to do it. I'm going to pitch it again.
Right.
I'm going to, ask Julie to be on our podcast. I'm going to go to Podfest so I can meet people. It's just that consistent action.
Yeah.
And especially with your product, a lot of people will launch a product 1, 2, maybe 3 times, and then they give up.
That's right. I see that all the time.
Else. That didn't work. I need something else. Well, maybe you need a new name for it. Maybe you need to add or subtract this or that. Maybe you need to do some beta rounds of it to see what's working and what's not about it. And so it's really just that consistency, not, we talked about this yesterday in my Q&A for my membership, pivoting. Too many pivots. I say it with love. Too many pivots. In the first year,
it's crazy.
In the first year, definitely pivot. This is my third business. I had 2 RV businesses. Now I'm doing the email thing. I am not without a pivot, my friends. Julie mentioned I had weight loss. I had business coaching. I had this. I had that. The first year or 2, definitely. But, you got to pick something and consistently move that needle over and over. I really, really think my biggest success story is just that I haven't given up in almost 9 years.
I love that you said that. I often, again, the listeners know I'm a certified tiny habits coach. So the consistency of habits, and I often say consistent action is what gets you the traction.
Amen.
And again, the consistency doesn't mean that, we're working 10 hours a day and going big or going home, but it means that I'm going to show up in my energy level, especially, for us as women. We have so many other hats we wear. We also contend with our health, and we are going to have a different level and availability to be able to show up. But if you still are showing up and you stop, kind of like you talked about, those many pivots, you're going to find that your people will start to resonate and get it. Because again, if you're promoting this thing today and then you say, oh, nobody signed up, in 2 months you're promoting something else. And, I have a client that came to me and in the past year, that's the work that we've done, right? She had the one thing and then she's like, no, maybe I'm going to sell this. No, I'm going to do that. And I said, no, first of all, you're promoting so many different things. People don't know you for the thing. And the thing is, you're putting your content out there, but you're not creating that intimacy of a relationship where people trust you enough. And that's the piece that when we are online, we have to kind of have our voice be different from the voices that are out there.
Yeah.
People trust you. How
Amen.
does that happen?
I think it's just the consistency. So I'm pulling something up because I'm getting really fired up about this conversation.
I love it.
Seth Godin was on Entrepreneur on Fire.
Oh, I just listened to that
weeks ago. And he was quoted, authenticity is dramatically overrated. Authenticity is for friends, while consistency, consistency is for professionals.
Yeah.
You shouldn't sign up to do something you hate, of course, but people don't want to buy the authentic you. People want to buy the consistent professional you. So Julie just asked me, how do people trust me? Right? I think it's because I've been consistent,
right?
And that makes me professional, right?
That's right.
People want to buy. Of course, people want to buy from people they trust, and consistency is part of authenticity. I really am this lady, I really do consider myself the Fresh Princess. I really do.
You are.
Make jokes and love the 90s, and that's totally me. But even Julie and I, if you take it back to what we were talking about 20 minutes ago about why I haven't shared a lot of my health journey. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to help you make money with email marketing. When it comes to you and I and you and my professional relationship, that's what I care about. And that's what you care about. Of course, there's a level of, especially Julie's been in the membership a couple of years. We know each other personally now. Of course, she cares about my health journey. When it comes down to it, when she logs in and reads my email, Liz, come on, I need the good stuff. Give me that email stuff, baby. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We want to know about each other's lives. Of course, we want that authentic self. But I think Seth Godin is really onto something. The authenticity might be the first thing that gets people into your realm. But the consistent action, the quote Julie, is what gets you traction. It's what keeps people there. It's what, like Julie mentioned at the beginning. After a while, I finally pulled the trigger and I joined Liz's membership. Why? Because I kept showing up. I kept talking. Hey, girl, are you in the membership yet? Hey, have you thought about this yet when it comes to the membership? What about this? Okay, have I hooked you yet?
No. And that's how it's done.
Right. And that, again, to that Seth Godin quote, I don't often save stuff that's saved on my phone because I'm like, that's so true. And that's why it's never resonated with me to, go too heavily into my health journey because that's a whole nother business, right?
For sure.
That's a whole nother influencer account. But I would still want to be the email marketing lady. Even some of my, I've had business coaches in the past or, people, oh, well, Liz, I think you're ready. You're bigger than email marketing. And I'm like, I know I am, but I'm not where I want to be in this business yet. So as soon as I get 10,000, I'm going to move the camera. If you guys are watching, I have this email marketing membership road to 10K.
10K. I love that.
I'm only at about 4,000 right now. When I hit 10,000, then maybe I'll talk to you about how to be a good podcast guest. Then maybe I'll talk to you about how I, was able to save enough money to put 25% down on a house. Then maybe I'll talk to you about, this mold condition I have. But I need to be consistent because I need to keep that level of trust with my audience where they know what they're going to expect from me. That creates safety, which, creates dollar bills.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. I love, by the way, that you have your little thing on the wall. And I think that those are the reminders, right? In my mastermind on Wednesday, we talk about at the beginning of the year, we set up our goals and then we build 12-week goals. The one thing that I
Love
do
that.
with them on a monthly basis is we freaking revisit those goals. And what are you doing on a daily, weekly, monthly to like, what is that action, right? Because you can have a goal and that's great, but you know specifically the roadmap to getting, I'm going to consistently have be on a podcast, be a guest. I'm going to put my email out there. I'm going to share, Q&As with my members so that they can recommend me to others. I'm going to do an affiliate for my members. So all of these things are different things, but they're driving to the main goal. And that's where we get really sidetracked in this online world. One of the things that I had the pleasure of seeing, and I, of course, my mind is always on the business aspect of it, right? But I mentioned that you were in Survivor, you were a contestant in Survivor, you were finalist, and every time I saw you, I was looking at it from this is the list that also shows up this tenaciously in her business. Now, why Survivor? I guess you were a super fan. And how did you get there?
Yeah, so I love that Julie said she saw the tenacity in me. Because if you've never been on a reality show, they will portray you however they want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to get all butthurt here, but I mean, I was portrayed, and like if you didn't know me and you weren't,
Yep.
a member of my business, you might think, whoa, this lady is really intense. Maybe not in a good way.
I thought it was perfect,
But
but
yes, I love that you use the word tenacious. Thank you. I really dug my heels in every day and refused to give up.
yeah.
Why Survivor? I mean, why business? It's just
Mm-hmm.
something you would think, oh, that's not for me, right? And
Mm.
anytime those little things come up, I'm like, oh, then I know it's for me, right? I
Mm-hmm.
know that's fear. That's someone else talking. That's
Yeah.
not my true self. And when I was a girl, I would watch Survivor. I would watch it on a little black and white TV when my mom thought I was sleeping. And I always thought I could do that. I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all, you got to know something about me. If you don't know Enneagram, I'm a 3, which means high performer. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very like, I want people to see me, and I own that now. And I
Yeah.
want people to see my achievements. I'm very success oriented. I'm very solutions oriented. And oh yeah, I could be on that show. I could be on that show. And I started watching again. I fell out of it. And I started watching again with my daughter a few years before I was cast. And, every time Jeff Probst, the host, will come on, think you could do it? Apply
Mm-hmm.
now. I'd say, I think I could do it. I think that wouldn't be as hard as it looks. Like just so cocky.
Yeah.
And one
Yeah.
day, I guess my daughter got sick of it. And
Mm-hmm.
she was 7 years old at the time. And she looked at me and she said, are you going to talk about it? Or are you going to do it? So she
That's a big
basically
thing.
dared me, right? That's like a double dog dare, right? And I applied the next day. They emailed me back within 10 minutes. They called me that
Wow.
night. A couple of weeks later, I was talking to the host of the
Wow,
show,
that's
who was,
huge.
yeah. And it was just something, Julie, and I'm sure you listening, we've all had these moments where we saw something, we knew that was for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Yeah.
knew it
Yeah.
would go our way, right? We're like, if I say yes to this,
Mm-hmm.
this is it. And I've
Mm.
always felt that way about Survivor.
Love it.
If you've ever seen it and then you look at me, you'd be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense why they cast her. It's kind of these wild, can I use the word extreme? Yeah, sure. I'm
Yeah.
talking about myself. These extreme personalities, these people who just love
Mm-hmm.
to suffer, they love to persevere.
Yeah.
They want a challenge. They're highly competitive. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, yeah, if I got on there, oh, it's over for these other people. And it just
Yeah.
seemed, it wasn't even a lot of thought. It was more of a feeling of,
Mm-hmm.
yes, this is my next thing. This is
Yeah.
my calling to do. And now that it's over, it's been
Mm.
this really amazing, sometimes terrible, but mostly amazing experience If you don't watch the show, I had a major meltdown, probably the biggest reality show meltdown in a decade. I mean, I've been crowned. I have won so many awards last year for
Oh,
like
I didn't realize that.
biggest reality moment of the year, things like this, and largest meltdown in history and all this. And in that moment, it was very real. It was very raw. I was starving. I won't get into it. You could literally just Google it. But just know that I hadn't eaten like 0 calories in 72 hours. And I was denied food, right? And so I freaked out. And what I learned for myself is, because they could have voted me out. Oh, she's a loose cannon. Whoa, Liz really is insane. Let's get her out of here. She's dangerous. She unpredictable. But instead, everyone gave me grace. Liz, you are so hungry. You have eaten less than anyone on this island. Liz, you're hilarious. Like that. Like we all wanted to do that. You're the bravest one of us all. We all wanted to scream. We've all, just been holding our tongue around this person.
Yeah.
And so I came away knowing, like, as much as I give grace, I deserve grace. And grace is actually given to me as easily as I give it out to the ones that I love. And so that was a lesson for me. And it's been so amazing. I wasn't sure the reception of it, right? And of course, there's always backlash. But I had so many, especially women, email me, find me on social media and message me and say that was the first time I'd ever seen a woman be allowed to be angry, to process her emotion, to get over it and keep going, and not one person be mad at her.
Yeah.
And that was so important to see, because I've never been allowed to be angry. But now I see that it's okay. And people will actually maybe even like you for sticking up for yourself.
Yeah.
And that to me has been worth every little piece of, you're nuts, you're crazy, you're this, you're that, right? Just to know that there are some people out there that have never seen anger processed, forgiven, and actually moved on from. And that's been so cool.
That's amazing. And the other side of the coin, which you mentioned initially, and I hope the listeners get to know you better. But the other piece is that you also went into the show with the idea that, sure, there's a cash prize. Sure, I'm going to get some TV time, but I want my daughter to see me do this. And you created that picture and modeled for her what is possible. And all of us need to be able to be ourselves and know that whoever we are, it's not going to land with everybody. We're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But the people who love tea and love our flavor tea are going to buy us in bulk.
Right. I
and
love
that's
that.
what's important. And I think that's the one thing that I kept seeing. And I was so proud, if anything. And of course, I cried alongside of you that day, because I thought, I went on a hiking trip in high school. That was a outward bound hiking trip, nothing like Survivor. But for someone who's a city girl in the woods who brought her blow dryer and then, was not doing well, I could kind of see a little bit of what you were going through. And I remember that throughout my trip, I held it all in. And I was cheering that you were able to say, wait a minute, I haven't eaten. And this, and again, people need to go watch it because I think it's phenomenal. And it's an example of we don't need permission from somebody else to be ourselves, but we only need to allow ourselves to be okay with who we are so that we can step out into the world.
Well, I so appreciate that, because that was even a little point of contention for me and another contestant. We're both parents, and I was very emotional on the show towards the end. I really was starving, and she was always trying to keep it together. She was very the opposite of me, very gracious, very stoic in the face of adversity, the more emotional it seemed that I was, the less emotional she got. And we talked about it, and she said, "Don't you want Chelsea to see you keeping it together?" And I looked at her, I said, "Actually, what I want to show my daughter is that when she is genuinely being disserved and disrespected, that it is absolutely okay to show your emotion and to be honest about your feelings." I said, this woman has sons, so, it might be a little different. And I said, I just find that in this world, they're so nasty to women who have emotions. And I just want to show her that, yeah, I was done really dirty and I don't have to take that.
That's right. So
And
good.
that's something that I'm glad you brought up, Julie, because I was really proud. And my daughter did take it the way I thought she would. She was like, "Yeah, sometimes I'm really ticked off." And I said, "You don't have to scream the way mommy did. That was a very extreme situation, but you are allowed to tell someone when they have done you wrong."
Excellent, excellent gift that you are sharing with us, because again, we have to be our own advocates. And if we don't,
Amen.
it's going to be different for us. Our experience will be different, and it's not what we want, and it's not what we deserve. And ultimately, we are the designers of our life and our business, and we can take those steps. You've been incredibly gracious with your time. I could probably talk to you all afternoon, but tell us about your membership, and how do people get this wonderfulness that and again, I'm going to put that in the show notes. I'm going to share my affiliate link, people, because I'd love for you to join us in this wonderful membership and take advantage of how easy, because Liz is giving us an easy button to this email marketing thing. So tell us more.
Yeah. So if you are interested in, okay, Liz, you're right. I do need to send out a weekly newsletter. I love the idea of these personal updates and just quick segues. And you want a lot of hand holding, I think. I'd love for you to join an email marketing membership. It is only $9 a month. I haven't raised the price in 4 years. Unless the USD plummets tomorrow, I have zero plans of upping the price, but you get a weekly newsletter template delivered straight to your inbox every Monday morning. I give you a video walkthrough with that template to show you how to use it, how to make it your own voice. You also get 2 examples, like A+ swipes, to model how the template would be used depending on your business. You also get once a month Q&As. Those are my favorite. I love hanging out with my members.
I know.
You get
It's on Wednesday and Thursdays. Typically I have coaching when you do it. So I need to move my people around.
Yeah, I would love to have you hang out.
I know.
You get quarterly guest experts and some other perks as well. I just love my membership so much. Julie's going to put the link in the show notes, or you can go directly to lizwilcox.com. There's a yellow menu bar at the top. You can click that and go directly to the sales page. Now, if you're still a little skeptical, again, you can go to lizwilcox.com. You can hit the hot pink button, and that's going to give you 3 newsletter samples directly from the membership, so you can kind of check out what it's all about.
It's so good. It's so good, everybody. And Liz, of course, has her podcast, which I highly encourage you to check out, because if you thought you got a lot of goodies today, the podcast is jam-packed. And she has done a phenomenal job in, carrying the podcasting torch and creating a space where you are learning, but also getting to know so many different people and things. So Liz, thank you for being here. You're going to have to come back again, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much. I can't wait to see what everybody does with email.
Yeah. And so if there is one takeaway out of all the things we talked about, because we were in so many different places and people want to integrate, want to put into practice, what is the one thing that they can do and get an easy win?
Yeah. So remember when we were talking about how to turn, followers into customers with email? And I mentioned in your welcome sequence, you got to tell them, I'm going to offer free and paid resources. So I know you're probably walking the dog right now. Maybe you're doing the dishes, But the next time you open up your email service provider, I would love for you to get out your welcome sequence and somewhere in there, just write that sentence. I am going to offer you free and paid resources, services, products, whatever works for you. That is going to flip that switch Julie and I talked about from, hey, I just got something for free to, oh, this person offers real solutions.
That's right. That is a very, very good takeaway. And I want to encourage you that if you were multitasking listening to this, 2 things. Go back and listen, take action, take a picture of yourself doing that, go to social, wherever you hang out, tag me, tag Liz, let us know, and cheer you on as you make this swift change that can make a big impact. And as well, share this with your business besties, because there's a lot of different things that we've talked about that can make a difference in the life of somebody else, my friend. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Liz Wilcox, for being here. And don't forget, my friends, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Bye, Liz.
Bye, friends.
Thanks for listening to Casa De Confidence. We thank you for listening, and if you want more, go to casadeconfidencepod.com. Check Julie out on her socials as Julie DeLucca-Collins. And you can also check out her website at goconfidentlycoaching.com. Have a great week, and don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey. And I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all. But the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business, push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the 6-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly Julie's Mastermind.